Today on Commander Replay, can our new Licia deck find redemption against Atraxa, Erebos, and Karador? Find out next on Commander Replay. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Licia Sanguine Tribune. Take a look at her opening hand. That's a lot of land. I know this deck wants a lot of land, but we need more than lands if we're gonna plan to have success right here. Okay, this is better. We can draw with Well of Lost Dreams, little protection there. Land tax will find us all the lands we need, so let's keep this. Still a bit slow, no removal in hand. Always makes me a bit nervous. But the decks we're looking at aren't particularly fast. Our opponents today, Atraxa, Praetor's Voice, Erebos, God of the Dead, and Karador, Ghost Chieftain. Not known for being especially aggro, they're all very good in the late game. That'll give us time to get into the late game as well, which I think should be good. And unfortunately, we're going last in this game. I don't necessarily care about going first, but I really hate going last. You're basically a full turn behind everyone else. The only good thing it's going to do is set up this land tax, but we could easily set that up by going second. Now, Erebos should be playing board wipes. I faced this Atraxa player last night. They had a decent amount of removal, so I know a little bit what's going on in their deck. Unless they're playing a variation of what they had last night, it's going to be a Super Friends deck. They were pretty heavy on removal, so there's an As Foretold. Opponent starts with a turn 1 Mana Crypt. Always kind of annoying. We draw into a Plains. Let us play the Plains, play this land tax, and pass the turn. Ooh, Hermit Druid coming down for the Karador opponent. Who's got removal? You know, that's one thing I haven't actually seen that much of recently, Hermit Druid combo decks. A few years back, they were kind of the strongest thing going. I'd still venture a guess and say they're probably still very good, but really just haven't seen very many of them lately. Maybe because people recognize that it's just only really belongs in the most competitive decks. So back to Atraxa's turn, they get a Mana Crypt trigger and an As Foretold trigger. There's a Demonic Tutor for the Atraxa, hopefully for a 1-mana removal spell to deal with that Hermit Druid. So that brings it back to our turn. We're going to get a land tax trigger. I think I'm just going to go for 1 right here. Yeah, there's not a lot of basics in this deck, so we're only going to go for 1 because I don't really want to be... Actually, we'll go for 2 because we can discard the City of Brass. We have a mountain, so we'll get Plains. And, of course, we draw a land per turn as our draw this turn, so that's not amazing. That does mean that we will play the Path of Ancestry since it comes in tap, and discard the City of Brass, since our color situation should be alright. Cemetery Reaper coming down for the Erebos opponent, so quite possibly a zombie tribal deck. Oh, and Karador just scoops. Wonderful. Rites of Flourishing from the Atraxa opponent. Alright, so we're at 7 cards. We're going to draw 2 per turn. That'll put us to 9. We can play 2. Yeah, I'm actually not going to use land tax right here. Here's a Wormcoil Engine. And a Toxic Deluge. Cool. So let's play the Clifftop Retreat, play this Swamp, and then we can... Actually, so we could have land tax for 1. And then we'll play the Well of Lost Dreams. Erebos going to swing into us with the Cemetery Reaper. We go down to 38. Plays a Cavern of Souls, naming Vampire. Weird. Wonder if that was a misclick. And Erebos coming into play. Atraxa's turn, they get a Mana Crypt, Rites of Flourishing, and As Foretold trigger. A lot of ways to generate value over there. There's an Oath of Gideon. It's going to make 2 1/1s. And Atraxa coming down. Going to play an Everflowing Chalice, X1. We draw a Duelist Heritage. We no longer get a land tax trigger, but we do get a Rites of Flourishing trigger. We draw into another land, so play the Isolated Chapel, play this... We'll play the Strip Mine. We'll lay down this Wormcoil Engine, and we will pass the turn. Opponent lays down a Bloodline Keeper, so maybe... I don't know what they're playing. They have a zombie and a vampire. Maybe it's zombies and vampire tribal. I don't know. Or maybe they just have Cavern of Souls in there to, whenever they play it, just to choose whatever creature type makes the most sense in that moment. I'm not sure, but... Bloodline Keeper's down. That's a pretty good magic card. Does take a few turns to make enough vampires to be useful, but once it flips over, your vampires are huge. Felwar Stone for the Atraxa opponent, and that As Foretold is up to 5. They're definitely going to be in range to start casting stuff out of their hand for free now. I would love to get rid of that, but we do not have any removal. I think our plan... Ooh. Erebos is going to shut down our life gain. We may need to get rid of Erebos. Erebos, the anti-life gain commander. Crystalline Crawler coming down. It's a 5/5. Ooh, we draw a Hide and Seek. Oh, that's interesting. So we can get rid of Erebos with that, and then we can gain life off the Wormcoil, and then we can draw a bunch of cards, which I like. There's also a Demonic Tutor. That's also very, very good. Let's play the 2 lands in our hand. Get those down. We are on 8 mana, which means we could cast our commander, but I think I like the idea of using the Hide portion of Hide Erebos, and then swinging in somewhere to start gaining some life. So we're going to use Hide. Oh, This could also get rid of the As Foretold, which is probably something that we need to get rid of at some point. Our choices are not amazing right here. We do have Demonic Tutor. We can also just draw a million cards with... Yeah, so we're going to get rid of Erebos. We're going to swing into the Atraxa opponent. They're going to block with a token. We're going to gain 6 life. Well of Lost Dreams trigger. We're going to go X3 to draw a bunch of cards. And then we will also cast our commander. Ooh, nice. So we get a land, a Serra Ascendant, and a Vizkopa Guildmage. And then we'll cast our commander. We'll get to Scry one time. Ooh, Sun Titan, you say. We don't have a lot for Sun Titan to do right now, but it's such a powerful card that I think we need to keep it. And we will pass the turn like that. Oh, we forgot to activate Licia. Erebos coming back to play. Yeah, that is relevant. That is relevant. Oath of Ajani coming down for the Atraxa opponent. Planeswalkers will get cheaper, and it's going to put a counter on each creature they control. Garruk, Apex Predator coming down. See what he decides to do right here. Opponent's going to crack a Commander Sphere, draw a card. Has a lot of mana. I was going to play Urza's Ruinous Blast. We'll still have our commander in play. That's good news. We'll lose a lot of other cool stuff, though. Lose our Wormcoil Engine. The one that hurts most is Well of Lost Dreams, because we can draw so many cards with Well of Lost Dreams. And unfortunately, that does leave Erebos in play as not a creature, which makes it so much harder for us to get rid of. There's an Ugin coming down with 8 counters on it. Let's see if they want to go -8 on Ugin, or -7 on Ugin, rather. Nope, just going to use the Garruk to shoot down our commander. We do not have a great way to deal with all the Planeswalkers in this deck. Ugin's going to do 3 damage to us. Everything gets plussed a bunch. Let us play the Blood Crypt, play it untapped. Still don't have the ability to draw any life. Man, probably needs to be Demonic Tutor right here. We need something. One of the problems is that Ugin can just exile, like, everything. Aurelia does not get through Atraxa. Debtor's Knell is kind of fun, although everything just got exiled. There's no creatures in the graveyard. Greed is a card. I think it's going to be Greed. I think we just need to draw like a million cards and try to fight our way through that way. We'll be able to draw 3 with Greed. Maybe we'll Greed next turn. This turn I think I'm going to... Let's get the Duelist Heritage down. Phyrexian Revoker coming down. Please name Ugin. Name's Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Nice. Sword of Body and Mind. Relevant against Atraxa. Gonna equip the Body and Mind. Also gives it protection from the Garruk. That's Shalai, Voice of Plenty coming down. So they seem to be focused around Planeswalkers and tokens. Or maybe they just like giving their stuff hexproof, I'm not sure. Atraxa going to swing into the Erebos opponent. Sounds good. Atraxa's going to proliferate at the end step. They forgot to use their Garruk. That's relevant. Brings it back to... Ooh, that's a Feast and Famine. Oh, I mean, the one problem is Feast and Famine incentivizes attacking our opponent. They only have 1 card left, as opposed to attacking their Planeswalkers, but... Man, Feast and Famine is so good. So let's get the Feast and Famine down. Equip the Feast and Famine. Oh, this is going to be ridiculous. We're going to be able to do so much stuff this turn. I'm excited about this. All right, so lay down Greed. Swing into the Atraxa opponent. They can block with Shalai if they want to. Don't know that they... Well, they might. Give it Double Strike. Yeah, I'm going to block with Shalai. All right, sad face. Does get rid of Hexproof, though. And more importantly, now we're protected from Garruk, so them not shooting our creature last turn was a pretty big deal. There's a Champion's Helm for the Erebos. Gonna equip the Champion's Helm on the Phyrexian Revoker. Phyrexian Revoker gonna swing into the Garruk. We will give it Double Strike. Garruk goes down, so huge loss for our opponent by not using it last turn. Atraxa gonna swing into us for 7. Yep. Not going to Double Strike that. We go down to 32, 7 Commander. Need to be a little bit careful about the Commander damage. There's a Supreme Verdict. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Opponent's going to use the Ultimate on Ugin, which means we do get a chance with Greed to draw a lot of cards. Opponent draws 7 cards. They get to put 7 permanents from their hand onto the battlefield, and they gain 7 life. So they get a bunch of land. Ooh, they get a lot of lands. Deep Glow Skate in there, which double the number of counters. Okay. So going to double up on the Ugin. I mean, all things considered, opponent got a lot of land, but it could have been so much worse what they could have gotten. There's a Divinity of Pride for us. That's a sweet card. Sun Titan would give us 2 creatures, which I really like. Divinity of Pride is also pretty sweet. I think I'm going to go Sun Titan, leave up Teferi's Protection. And then at the end step, we can Greed if we need to. So Sun Titan, get back Serra Ascendant, use the ability. And then we'll just sit on Greed or Teferi's Protection as needed. Yeah, I mean, all things considered with that Ugin ultimate, they hit mostly lands. Extractor Demon coming down. Whenever another creature leaves the battlefield, may have target player put the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. It has Unearth. I have no idea what this Erebos opponent's plan is. Well, I guess their first plan is to put the sword on the Extractor Demon. It's a 7/7. Seems pretty good. They've got some weird equipments. They've got multiple creature types. They've got this Cavern of Souls. I'm very confused. Bloodline Keeper, usually you really need to be playing Vampire Tribal, unless you're playing some sort of like activated ability deck where you can untap it multiple times. And then Cemetery Reaper, yeah, I don't know. I'm confused. Ooh, one thing we need to be careful of, because we can't gain life, Serra Ascendant will become very small if we greed too much. Opponent's going to attack with the Arena Rector. If it dies, they get to put a Planeswalker from their library onto the battlefield. Going to swing into the Erebos opponent. Hopefully they do the smart thing and just take the 1, since it's 1. Atraxa coming back into play. Ooh, Ugin's going to do 3 damage to the Arena Rector, so they're going to get the Planeswalker of their choosing. Granted, Ugin is probably the best Planeswalker and is already in play. They could have Karn. Karn would also be nasty. Extractor Demon is going to trigger, and opponent uses it on the Atraxa opponent. There's a Liliana, so probably going to use the, tutor mode on Liliana. Atraxa is going to proliferate at the end step. We will greed 1 time, just to keep our Serra Ascendant in its big mode. We draw a land. There's a Kalitas. Kalitas is interesting. So play the land. Trying to think about which creature to put the sword on. Well, we probably need to keep Sun Titan alive. That's going to be the most important thing. Opponent could just block with Atraxa and kill the Sun Titan, and that's not the best. So put the sword on Sun Titan. Plus Sun Titan can keep getting our Serra Ascendant back as needed, which I like. Play Kalitas. That way if opponent does some chump blocking, we'll get some tokens out of the deal, and it'll exile their creatures. Do we do anything else before we go to combat? I'm not sure. Maybe we send the Sun Titan into the Erebos opponent just to guarantee the hit. Yeah, I think that's what we do. No, maybe not. Ugin's still on the board. We'll play this Vizkopa Guildmage. Do we need to guarantee the Sword of Feast and Famine hit? I still like swinging into the Atraxa right here. As much as I want to, get that sword hit. So swing like that. Gonna put Duelist Heritage on the Sun Titan. Opponent's got a tough choice to make right here. They can block one of our creatures. The question is, do they want Ugin to go to 1, or do they want to lose the card in their hand and allow us to untap twice? It's going to block the Sun Titans, so Extractor Demon's going to trigger. We get a token out of the deal, and opponent's going to keep milling the Atraxa opponent. And that being the case, we just sit on this Teferi's Protection. There's a Mortivore coming into play. Interesting. I don't think there's too many creatures in the graveyard. It's a 2/2. There are 2 creatures in the graveyard. Shalai and Phyrexian Revoker are in graveyards. People just run so many less creatures than you think if you're trying to run Mortivore. There's just, unless you're running like a mill kind of deck where you're going to put most of opponent's library into the graveyard, it's just hard to really ever get enough creatures to make Mortivore feel like it's worth it. Opponent's going to put Champion's Helm on the Erebos. Erebos is now a creature, which means we can use Toxic Deluge on it to get rid of it and finally start gaining some life, which I would love to do. One's going to send their Erebos at the Liliana. Does not attack with the Extractor Demon. I probably would have. Liliana down. Darksteel Ingot for the Atraxa opponent. Alright, that's not too threatening this late in the game. Ugin's going to do 3 damage to the Erebos opponent. Atraxa's going to swing into us. We do not have any flying blockers. Puts us to 11 commander. And Atraxa's going to get to proliferate 1 time. That does make Serra Ascendant now very small, which means we can start using Greed. Ooh, Greed with City of Brass. That's a lot of life. So, greed 1 time, greed another time. Spot removal for Erebos would be amazing. Ooh, Erebos has hexproof. There's a command tower. Ooh, an Aetherflux Reservoir. Well, that's not the most helpful with Erebos still in play. Normally a very exciting card, but not today. What to do right here? I mean, maybe the question is we just take Erebos out of the game. If we double strike the Sun Titan, they can't block it. They do have Inkmoth Nexus for blocking. The question is whether they know they have Inkmoth Nexus or not. I don't know. Let's continue to greed more. Look for some answers. That's a Blasphemous Act. That's interesting. More greed. Land is not helpful. Let's try it one more time. More lands are also not helpful. Erebos will be 8 to recast. See how much mana opponent has. They have 9 mana. They could recast Erebos, but it would take them their entire turn to do it. Alright, so I think it's going to be... Let's play the command tower. Let's get down the Aetherflux Reservoir. Swing into Atraxa. Looks like it's going to be just the Sun Titan. Everything else dies to Atraxa, which is a little bit annoying. Yeah, swing like that. Duelist Heritage on Sun Titan. Use the ability. Get a Sword of Feast and Famine trigger. Before that happens, we'll greed a bit more. There's a Tide Drinker. Also, Extort not that great when Erebos is still in play. So our land's untapped, and Atraxa goes all the way down to 11. Now I think we just run out all of our creatures. Let's cast the Divinity of Pride. Gain no life with this Aetherflux Reservoir. We have 7 mana left currently. So I think the next step is Toxic Deluge. Ooh. Yeah, Toxic Deluge is going to burn a lot of life. Yeah, I think that's still the right play for 9 life, kill the Erebos. Then Teferi's protection, our stuff. We are down to a healthy 4 life because we have not been able to gain life this game. So our stuff's going to phase out. Toxic Deluge resolves. Extractor Demon's going to trigger a couple times, continuing to target the Atraxa opponent. So we put opponent in the position of they can recast Erebos if they want to, but they're going to spend their entire turn doing that. That means that they won't be able to really do much else. It doesn't give them a blocker of any kind, so it puts them into a tough spot. Honestly, I would like to see them not recast Erebos just so we could gain the life. I would feel much better about having a higher life total. Nope, just going to recast that Erebos. There's a Narset. Going to use the plus ability. It's a Farseek. Going to play the Farseek. And Ugin's going to shoot opponent for 3. They go down to 27. There's a Thought Vessel. Let's play this Smoldering Marsh. Comes in untapped. I'm going to try to Tithe Drinker for as much as I can with the Extort, which probably isn't all that much, but gaining no life. Let's play the Thought Vessel. Continuing to gain no life. We'll Extort one time just to get the damage on our opponents. We need to be careful that we don't just... We could die to that Inkmoth Nexus randomly. That's a thing that could happen. We'll need to be careful of that. I think we need to take down Atraxa for sure. That's 9 damage on the Atraxa. We need to find one more damage somewhere. Sun Titan into the Erebos opponent, and we're going to leave the Serra Ascendant back for blocking. No targets for Sun Titan. Use the Duelist Heritage on Sun Titan. Uh-oh, Serra Ascendant doesn't have flying. Sword of Feast and Famine's going to untap all of our stuff. Oh, we have a Strip Mine. Oh my god. Hoo 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 hoo. Oh, wow. For a second, I thought we were just going to die to the Inkmoth Nexus. Haunted Plate Mail getting discarded for our opponent. So Atraxa finally going down. We get another sword trigger. Anything to do between turns here? We don't have enough life to greed. I don't think so. Probably could have played the Shambling Vent because it would have untapped from the sword right there. But let's get our commander into play for the absurd amount of mana that this is going to cost. Oh, that's a lot of mana. We'll continue to extort. If we use Path of Ancestry, we could have scryed right there. Scry would be kind of helpful, but oops. Let's see if opponent notices our Strip Mine, and they try to go in on the Inkmoth plan. Also gets rid of a Worm Coil Engine. That's huge. That is... Man, if I was opponent, I would have played that Worm Coil Engine last turn. That Worm Coil Engine is going to do more... I guess that's tough. So, if we gain a ton of life, we probably go to what? Like, with the mana we had last turn, yeah, we probably go back to like 40 life pretty quickly. But man, man. That was the position that I wanted to put them into, is if they recast Erebos, that means they can't do anything else. In this case, that's an Extractor Demon that don't have anything for. Oh, we should have kept the Divinity of Pride back. Yep. Alright, we're going to go down to the Extractor Demon. No flying blockers. Yep, so Erebos sticking it to us with the lack of life gain. Oh, there's a Steel Shapers. So I feel about 50% vindicated with where this deck is right now. It is certainly much better than the deck that I played last time around. But as you saw, like, it's just, after playing a number of games with Licia, like, it's just so easy to disrupt her. If anything blows up your artifacts, you're going to lose the mana and not be able to recast her. If anything prevents you from gaining life, you're not going to be able to recast her. Removal, she is a huge target for removal because she gets huge and gains you a lot of life. There's just so many ways for people to interact with her where she just does literal nothing. It is a very battlecruiser-y Magic kind of card where it just, you need opponents to not be running any kind of removal at all. And as a commander, I still just don't like it. I think it's a really interesting card, but the fact of the matter is, its casting cost is 8. The creature that comes down isn't really an 8 mana creature. You know, they overcosted it to be able to use that spell cost reduction, and sure, I understand that Erebos is the foil to what our deck is trying to do. But like I said, even in the other games I played, there's just so many ways for people to interact with our deck that just really hurts us, and it just becomes tough. But yeah, so I think the deck is in better shape for sure. I was kind of hoping to walk away with a win right there, but another thing, after doing the editing for this video, I realized that my attacks could have been so much better. I think later in the game, we should have just turned our focus onto the Erebos opponent and got them out of the game, because if we started gaining a lot of life, I don't know that Atraxa would necessarily have a way to chip down our life total all that fast. And they did have an Ugin in play, which naturally does deserve a lot of attention, but we had the Teferi's protection, so we would have been able to survive an Ugin board wipe pretty easily, and that would leave Ugin with low loyalty, so we could have got him on the crackback. So I wasn't really happy with how I set my attacks up in those last few turns, especially with the Sword of Feast and Famine. I feel like I probably should have guaranteed the hit on that a little bit more, so definitely felt like those were some of my more questionable attacks, which I feel like isn't something that I usually do. I feel like my attacks are usually pretty smart, but not today. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.